Good evening, everyone. Dear ladies, gentlemen, dear colleagues, dear guests. My name is Teresa, and I'm a senior consultant for education at the Czech Liaison Office for Education and Research here in Brussels. And it is my pleasure to welcome you all to this edition of EduCafé that we are co-organizing together with Czech Centre Brussels and the representation of the South Moravian region to the EU. So tonight's discussion will focus on the topic of education for sustainability, and we will discuss both the traditional approaches to this as well as new developments and trends in this field. So teaching about climate change and sustainability is important because education plays a crucial role in shaping the next generation's understanding of these challenges. But it is not just about teaching the hard facts. We must also help the children to practice soft skills such as critical thinking so that they are able to use them and find innovative solutions at the right time and right moment. And as educators and policymakers, we ourselves also must think outside the box to ensure that we inspire each other and to use our influence wisely. And this is also about sharing good practice. And this is also true at the European level, where the European Commission supports initiatives that aim to foster exchange of good practices, such as, for example, Education for Climate Coalition. And this is also why we are all here tonight. We have three distinguished speakers that have their own expertise and different views on this topic, both from Czechia and Belgium, /Flanders. And they are here to discuss and exchange ideas and good practice with you from different levels. So we will have a more theoretical level or in university approach. Then we will have concrete examples of activities and also political level or policy development approaches to the education for sustainability. So without further ado, let me introduce us to our moderator of tonight's discussion, Tomáš Polák. Tomáš is an experienced PR professional working with the Pirate MEPs, and he manages communications for the entire delegation, coordinates with the Czech media department, and the Greens EFA political group in the European Parliament. So Tomáš, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. It was a nice introduction, and also welcome from me. Welcome everyone. It's really my pleasure to be with you tonight in this marvelous venue and to host this very amazing event today. Our EduCafé, as was already mentioned, will focus on a very critical topic, which is education for sustainability. Let me give you a little bit of facts, because I was reading about UNESCO and what UNESCO thinks about analyzing education for sustainability, and I found out very interesting information because they actually analyzed curriculum frameworks across the EU, and they found out that 60% of them, 60% have no focus on climate change at all. The remaining 40% they described as minimal focus. So this is how the situation is right now. And this is in a world where we actually see that climate change is a really big problem. We just experienced the warmest August on record. We marked 15 consecutive months which were record-breaking global temperatures. We also just 2 weeks ago experienced in Central Europe and also in the Czech Republic, as you might know, horrible floods. And of course the researchers and experts are telling us that this is actually connected. This could be influenced with the climate change. And yet we don't have almost no education on climate. So this is why I want to ask my experts here: how can we do better? How can we educate the public and more, especially our children, on these pressing issues? So I will be asking that and discussing that with the experts here. So please welcome an educator and methodologist specializing in environmental education with a particular interest in outdoor learning, Mrs. Petra Kopová. We also have a senior lecturer and researcher from the Faculty of Environment at Jan Evangelista Purkyně University in Ústí nad Labem, Mr. Miloslav Kolenatý. And last but not least, we have a policy advisor on sustainability education at the Sustainability Education Hub within the Flemish government, Mrs. Van Wildemirsch, Elke van Wildemirsch. Sorry for my pronunciation. Thank you very much for accepting invitation here, and let me first start with very easy question. It's a warm-up question for all of you. It's the same one, and it's to just give us a little bit more idea about your work. So what was the very last project you were working on before you just came here to Brussels? Mrs. Kopova, Petra.
Hello to everyone. Projects. I involved two projects just now, and it's very connected what I did last time. One was connected with outdoor learning, so I was teaching a webinar for outdoor teachers, how to teach outdoors, and the second one was actually kind of kick-off for a project which is going to take 3 years and will be about a mini project connected with climate change.
Okay, thank you, Miloslav. What was your last project?
Well, my most recent project was preparing for the upcoming semester. It has actually already started, and today I had to teach a lesson from my hotel room online. So that's my answer.
Elke?
So what I was doing this week, working on one project we are working on together, a Horizon Europe project, a research project on impact evaluation. And as well, we are writing the new strategy for, we hope to have a government at the end of the week or maybe next week. So we need to be prepared. So I'm working on that as well, amongst others.
Thank you. Good luck with that. I actually divided the debate into 4 parts. The first part I called Climate Education's Role in the Curriculum. And I would like to just outline the situation now. Basically, we have this first question will go to you, Elke, and to you, Miloslav. So what are the climate topics now? How they are now implemented in the curriculums across the EU, and more especially in Czechia and Belgium, if you could compare that, Miloslav or Elke?
I'd like to divide your question into two, because you've got sustainability competences and you've got the topics, but I hear that you're asking for the topics, the climate topics. So in Flanders, you've got a huge freedom of education. So they're just broadly mentioned. So in primary education, they're mentioned as like climate and how people live and how you relate to it, what are the different types of weather. So you will not find climate change as a topic. And in secondary education, you've got in the second grade and the third grade, which is like 16 years and 17, 18 years. You've got causes and effects. And I think in the third grade, you've got everything about systems thinking, more like the global dimensions, solutions. But what I must say that you've got umbrella organizations who translate these learning objectives, like these learning goals, into the curriculum for their schools. And afterwards, you've got as well editors. You've got these kind of publishers who produce the textbooks. So we work as well with them, with these editors, and we try to embed directly into the books. Mm-hmm. So the system as well influences the level of embedding of sustainability in the learning goals.
So it doesn't really sound that horrible as UNESCO described. Is it similar in the Czech Republic, Miloslav?
The situation in the Czech Republic corresponds with the analysis of the United Nations, unfortunately. In the still existing or in the valid version of the national curricula, climate change and sustainable topics are covered in a very, very limited way. Hopefully, now we are in the process of revising the national curricula, preparing a new version, and from what I know, from what I have seen, the situation will get much better.
Can you tell us maybe a little bit more about this? Like, what is missing the most? What will be changed?
Well, education sustainability will become one of the cross-sectional topics. So hopefully it will actually grow through the whole national curricula system.
Yeah, I must say that sustainability is as well a key competence. So it's transversal. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Petra, you educate young people between 5 to 18 years. You not only do summer camps, you do a lot of other activities like courses for schools, but also for general public. You also educate the teacher and much more. But from your experience, what maybe surprising knowledge are different age group missing the most?
Yes, LIPCA, my organization, try to focus to wide age of students. I can say not until 18. People say until 100 because we also educate the seniors for environmental education. But what is missing? I ask my colleagues who teach children same question because I teach mostly teachers, and they ask me that they miss understanding the landscape, how it works, how it's everything connect together, how water, soil can be attacked by climate change, how it's complicated. And maybe also try to read the landscape. It's not only trees and animals, but all is connected. And before this knowledge, we actually cannot understand what is going on. And the other thing, what I got from my colleagues is that it's something else, and it's connected to sources, information sources. And the young children are not able to check them, what is really right. And so, yeah, there are so many information around them, and they need to find out the real. Yeah.
Yeah, also maybe we can react to this, but I'll also add one question. Do you think that the new frameworks will help to this?
Yes, I just wanted to, remark on what Petra said, because media literacy will be a very important part of the new national curricula, which should improve the situation of young people not being able to work with sources of information, to critically actually evaluate sources of information. So hopefully the situation will improve.
And Elka, maybe what Petra described was also understanding different landscapes and how everything is connected. Do you think that this could be also helped in some ways, or in from policy-wise, from your experience and also from the new curriculum frameworks which are being prepared?
I think systems thinking is definitely included in media literacy as well. These are things that teachers as well ask support for. So these are as well competences that we work on with teachers. So yeah, definitely relatable.
That's some positive news. But I have one more question for you, which is about the different communities and also teachers, children, and also local organizations in sustainable education. How do you actually help to involve them, and what could be done in general to everyone be involved?
Thank you. LIPCA is contributory school facility founded by South Moravian region. So we were very close cooperation, and also we are involved in action plan of environmental education, sustainability education. So that's why we try to follow their needs, also to spread out the ideas to the public, to parents, adults, and other organizations. We do it by several ways, like Earth Day, some excursions, seminars, and public events about the nature. And I think we are quite successful. It's 1,000 people who come in these events, but I think there is not enough these events. So the idea is also to teach the teachers who can spread out these ideas to children, and children sometimes can teach their parents. So I think that's the way it's more effective. And one example, maybe, we have been organizing since 2009 Education for Office of Public Administration, and it's every year focused to special topics like grey water, forestry, and this year is climate change. And it's nice to see that these people who actually work in offices but still have some power to change some things. They come and they try to learn themselves about this, and we actually believe that these people, young people and people in policy, they have a big power to change something, maybe more quickly than the older.
Yeah, I can already say that actually people in the offices, as you, will have chance in the very end to also try a little bit of sustainability education with Petra. We will have a little workshop there, so you can look forward to that. But now let's advance to the second part of the debate, which I would like to talk about more challenges. The first question is to you, Elke. It's because we see a lot of polarization in society when it comes to environmental topics. Do you, and that may be a little bit a personal question, but do you also have to face it at your work?
Yeah, definitely. But the thing is that polarization on societal issues is not only on sustainability issues, I think. So it's a societal challenge. And in a way, there's maybe some positive news as well from research that most of the Europeans are not aren't climate deniers. So that's a small minority. But most of the Europeans and Flemish people, because we did our own research, we don't know how to move them from being concerned to being active. And so that's actually one of the bigger challenges, we think, than maybe polarization. And one of the things that we see in polarization as well is we need polarization in a way, because every healthy democracy needs polarization, but it's a problem when it becomes toxic. And I've got some colleagues as well doing research on that, when it's becoming toxic, and that's when it's becoming identitarian, that's when it's appealing to your identity. And so we are working as well on what are connecting communication methods. And it actually has to do with, and that for me was an eye-opener, it doesn't have to do with the science. I mean, they really don't want to hear, if someone's not convinced, they don't want to hear the science. I mean, they don't want to hear the IPCC reports or something. I mean, you just get them more
so what
upset.
works? What works for these people?
They don't want, they just, what works apparently is talking from out of your own concern for things, and your personal emotions and experiences disconnects people. And so we are more looking into what way we could work on that connection. And so polarization isn't necessarily wrong. It's like the clash of ideas that every healthy democracy needs. But I mean, most of the dialogues that turn into this kind of toxic polarization, I mean, you don't move your democracy further. So we need to really improve the quality of our dialogues. And so it doesn't work on having more science put into your dialogues. Apparently that really scares people off. Yeah, so that for me was interesting to know, because I did do that.
But those deniers, they tend to be very loud. Sometimes they seem to be in some media even louder than those who actually support the idea. So how do you communicate with those people? Can you maybe give us tips, particular tips about what emotions do you use when you speak to those people?
Yeah, I maybe should mention as well the middle group. There is a middle group. You should give a stronger voice to them as well. So I don't know if you need to amplify the voice of the deniers. I doubt it. But what I do think is interesting, and we've got organizations working on this. One is called Klimaatcontact. I guess you understand. And they're really working on training people to do these kind of things. And I did one of these trainings, and I mentioned it. I'm mostly vegan, and I was put with someone whose parents are animal breeders. So, I mean, it was by coincidence, but she started to talk about, I saw that the lunch was vegan and vegetarian. I really felt really upset because, that's my identity. My parents are animal breeders. And I just talked about it with her. I didn't say who I was. I thought, okay, let's just discuss this further, and why were you emotional? And then I said, I do relate to that, because I always need to defend my choices. And And I feel like that. And actually, at the end, we ended up really having a lot of respect for each other. We said, okay, we don't agree, but I really understand you now. And I thought that was a really nice moment. Yeah, we did, and we really had a good understanding amongst us. And probably in a kind of polarizing environment, we would have been on the opposite side of the room or something. So, yeah, wasn't it?
That sounds very nice and positive. I wish I had more experiences like this. But Miroslav, I will move on to you. You consider yourself, at least that's what I read on your university website, as a PR worker or almost activist for climate. How hard is it for you in today's world to actually explain where maybe some measures are necessary for saving the planet, literally?
Well, in the Czech Republic, it's very challenging, I would say. But I totally agree with all what Elke said. I think now we have to avoid using too much science. We have to avoid doom and gloom, alarmism, the end of the world stories. It doesn't work anymore. I think we have to make the discussion about climate change human. We have to speak about public health. We have to speak about less cars in the streets and increasing the well-being of inhabitants of a certain town. We have to speak about cheaper energy, things like that. That's what starts the dialogue. I agree with Elke that the discussion has to be inclusive. There is no right or wrong at the beginning of the discussion. We have to just see what's on the table and then try to find a solution. But it's a long process. You have to be very patient. You have to be armored, and you have to find the energy to keep it up for a very long time.
So how do you explain that we need less cars in the streets? Or maybe electric cars.
It can be a benefit for the inhabitants because it means less pollution. It means It means more space for children to play in the streets. There are always arguments to support this point, but they have to be human. They have to be connected to the everyday life of the inhabitants. We cannot use the scientific jargon because people are not they don't care about the science anymore or about the end of the world scenarios. We have to be local, we have to be tangible, and speak about everyday life problems. That's what I think.
That's good advice also for some politicians who try to push these measures. Petra, you teach children as well in your programs, but also adults and teachers. Do you ever face some verbal criticism or attacks from people who basically have no information or very little information?
Yeah, I make a questionnaire for my colleagues to ask them same question because every day they are in contact with students and children more than me sometimes. So, and the answer was depth, statements of unverified proclamations, pessimism and frustration from the fact that they won't do anything about it. And maybe China can change something, but not us. And of course there are some opportunists sometimes. In every class they are, and some just don't agree with what we say or what we show them, what we teach them. But generally, I think there are questions mark in their eyes. What to do if we see everything around us and. It's so complicated, and sometimes we understand, sometimes not. But what to do? Are we able to do something? So yeah, how we handle it. One maybe positive example.
Tell us.
Yes, There is a project focused to entrepreneurship. I can maybe show the picture, how it looks like.
Yes, please. We have
Yes.
a special screen here, so we can actually see pictures from your work as well, which is great.
Yeah. The right picture. And it's focused to students' mini projects. These project teams from school, they usually find out one problem around them connected with climate change, and they try to find out the solution by the project. These students teams already find out 26 solutions. We got 26 students projects which actually found the solution. They were focused to the food, so the carbon footprint of the food, the garbage. They try to change something around the school to be more nature friendly, etc., etc. So this project makes me be positive that students are able to do something if they know that they have this possibility. And one maybe interesting thing, that the youngest students teams were children 7 years old, and they got it. So
it is in them. They can be creative,
possible.
and it also comes with understanding the topics. And this is actually also your job, kind of, Elke, because you have to translate high-level policy sometimes into like effective and on-the-ground educational practices. Do you find this hard, and how do you actually do this? And can you maybe give us some examples of how do you actually process with that?
Yeah, I've got an example as well. Yeah, the thing is that it shouldn't change. It shouldn't stay high level. I mean, people don't read these texts. I mean, Green Comp, and I mean, they're brilliant texts, but teachers will not read them. So we will not ask them, look, we've got a brilliant text, implement it. We'll just take the text to their context. We will, how we say, problematize it with them. Like, look, this is a new framework. These are some things that we would like to see what they mean for you. So it's as well like giving meanings to these texts, but in their context.
So you basically, when you create the policies, you already think about how you're gonna explain it in a way.
We do organize ourselves with the target group. We just take it immediately to the target group and we bring people together and we translate it to their values, to their language. We just give meaning to it for them. And so I wanted to show like an example of how different it can be. Like these are sustainability competences. They're the more like general sustainability competences, like systems thinking, action, strategical thinking, futures thinking. But you can see, like on the left side, we did a translation of this context. Like it's a quite high-level academical context of Wick and Brundiers, and it's for higher education. And you can find these frameworks online. It's no problem. And we really did prefer these ones on other ones for some reasons that we have. But the thing is, you can see it's difference. There's difference in language, there's difference in representation, and as well, each of these competencies are translated as well in a text and in methodologies. So we will never like leave a text and just send it to them and say, look, this is an interesting text, implement it. And actually, yeah, the same we do with other things like SDGs. Everyone knows the SDGs. We've got, and that's in English actually, you can look it up. SDGs at school, and if you say SDGs at
maybe
school,
tell us what is it, SDGs?
So SDGs is the Sustainability Development Goals, and Sustainable Development Goals, and it's an international framework from the UN. And actually, we just translated it. What does every SDG mean for your school? And so we've got different things as well, like a text on spatial planning. I mean, looks boring, but the teachers of geography, I don't think it's boring though, but the teachers of geography, like the organization asked us, like, please, can you translate this to a text for education? And ruimtelijk bewustzijn, the EduBox that you can see, is on spatial consciousness as well. And it's a kind of online tool made with the public broadcasting company, so that can be used in schools. On the right side, you can see a concept that's also quite academical, whole school approach. And this is to have a dialogue within your school on the whole school approach. And on the left side, down under, there's like, there are online modules as well on sustainability education and competencies for higher education, for lecturers. So we just translate this, but with them, and just immediately connect it to their context. And if they don't use our name, it's fine. If they just embed what we make, we're happy.
Thank you. We will actually talk more about your successful programs as well. But before we go there, to actually know what's successful and what's working or what's not working, we need to measure it somehow. And that's a question for you, Miloslav. You already told me it's very hard to measure educational programs and its effectiveness. So how do you actually do it?
Well, if we have enough time to discuss, the evaluation design with the authors of the program, the evaluation can be quite successful, but only to a certain level. We can measure maybe the impact of the program on the participants' knowledge, on the participants' attitudes, maybe on their behavior or willingness to act, in a pro-climatic way, let's say. But when we want to measure the progress in competences, that's much more difficult, and we don't know actually how to measure competences. There is no agreement on, how to measure competences. And another problem is that we mostly have data only from small-scale programs, let's say, evaluation of one program of a limited group of students. But to really make conclusions, we need large-scale studies with maybe tens of thousands of students, to say, this works in the Czech Republic or this doesn't work in the Czech Republic. We don't have that kind of data because it's really difficult to get, such a large bundle of data.
And from what we know, or from your personal experience, what is some program that actually worked, and you can tell us how you measured that it actually worked?
Yeah, actually, that was a program a little similar to what Petra described. I really liked long-term programs which maybe take the whole school year, because climate change is a very complex issue and it cannot be limited to one lesson or maybe to one subject. It needs the whole school approach, and it maybe needs the whole school year. We have a program in the Czech Republic which is called CO2 Leak, which is offered to all schools in the Czech Republic. The upper elementary and secondary schools, and the program is very similar to what Petra described. They have to find some issue in their surroundings, so it's also place-based, and then they have to think up of solutions for that issue. They have to communicate with their municipal officers. They have to persuade them they need funding for this. So it's very place-based, it's very community-based. And when we measured self-efficacy, that's one of the terms which is used in climate change education research. Self-efficacy means their own belief they can actually change things. And before the program, their self-efficacy was very low. They actually didn't know what to do. They didn't know are there any measures, to mitigate climate change. After the program, after the whole school year, their self-efficacy increased significantly. So that was one of the very positive impacts of the program.
Yeah, I can tell from my own experience, many people from my environment, they don't believe they can do anything. They don't need to recycle, because how can I change the world by recycling? But actually, that's why it's important also educate them to understand. I will go, before I give floor to Petra, also to you, Elke. Do you have some examples of your programs which you worked on, which you think were successful, or which you measured and you know that they were successful?
Yeah, the measuring issue is tricky. We've asked various universities to do impact evaluation on our programs, and I must say we are still looking for a satisfying impact evaluation. We have like some aspects that we know that are successful, like for instance that in technical and vocational education, like there's more progress on environmental consciousness than in like general secondary education, for instance. Some of the things that we didn't even expect. But the thing is, it's also really difficult to make a distinction between like other factors and other actors and what you are doing on sustainability education. Maybe the climate marches were more successful than 20 years of sustainability education. I mean, who knows? No, so you cannot distinguish. We cannot.
It's connected
say
to emotions as well. Those
surely, and to action competence. No, I mean they just felt very how you say, yeah. Voilà.
efficient, maybe.
But what we do know is that they appreciate our role. So we've got a role as broker. We try to accelerate processes, and we've got different strategies for that. And more in the qualitative part of the evaluation, we noticed that they are really like satisfied with the fact that, for instance, we are investigating on doing research on knowledge gaps. But we are not just leaving them with the recommendations, but together with them, we will just see how we can, like, through action research, how we can implement some of the thresholds or barriers for good education. For instance, what we showed, like these things, they really appreciated that we just do this translation. We are like a go-in-between, bringing together as well people, networking. So it's more on the role that we get positive feedback, the role that we take, then I cannot give you concrete results on the program. Yeah, maybe after impact.
But from your point of view, from practical point of view, when you actually organize, for example, those summer camps, maybe can you show us, maybe if you have pictures here, some specific examples of some teaching tools that you use, or just give us some tips about the most effective teaching in nature, what works the best from your experience?
Okay, I can find some pictures.
Again, you will have a chance to actually see it in practice after the end of the discussion, but now when we talk about it.
What worked the best? I think basic things. To let children touch, feel, use senses, motivate them that the nature is amazing. And before the healthy nature we cannot exist, actually. So I think that is the first step to motivate children to care about nature. And second, give them opportunity to do something, to be active, to use their entrepreneurship to show that they are able to change something small. It's needn't to be big, but step by step they will be able to do bigger things. And I think the schools has to also change a little bit. We ask teachers who lead actually these action groups to be less teacher and more coordinator, or someone who just support them to do what they like, what they feel that it's important to change.
Miloslav, how do you feel about this suggestion?
Yes, I just wanted to, a small addition. Experiencing success proves to be a very important, aspect of educational programs. And I agree, it doesn't have to be, a big deal. It can be a small thing, but experiencing the success is very motivating for young students, and it can actually go from the individual level to maybe municipal level, or to even a political level. In the program I mentioned, CO2 leak, at the end of the program, the students write emails to the Prime Minister, asking him for things.
That was Mr. Babiš, or Fiala?
Yes, that was Mr. Babiš.
Did he answer?
He made the Ministry of Environment answer the emails. Yes.
good for his PR, I guess.
But for the, you know, like for empowering the students, for maybe helping them find their own political voice, even at a very young age, it was very, very strong experience, you know.
Do you have similar experience, Alka?
Yeah, I can agree with both of you. I think learning through really authentic sustainability challenges and being able to contribute to them. And I do agree as well that longer programs tend to have more success, higher success rate than shorter programs. So these kind of trajectories with schools, when students can really like be empowered to tackle a certain local sustainability challenge and work on that and feel that they can make a change. And of course, yeah, in many cases they just go to the mayor and ask for the change they want to see, and something will change. So we do believe as well, and as well for higher education, we really do believe in this kind of action-oriented learning environments and more than knowledge-oriented that we have had a long time, because knowledge doesn't automatically lead to action. So we actually tend to turn it around now, like learn within an action. So that's actually like a change as well, like in the mindset of educators. Yeah.
Yeah, before we go to the last part, which will be about new trends, I also want to ask you, dear audience, that in the end you will have actually a chance to ask questions. So you can already think about your questions, because we will have almost half an hour to ask them. So now for the last section, which I also already said, it's trends. I would first like to ask you, Elke, what are the new trends for the education and sustainability from your point of view, from your work?
So I will start for the high-level trends. It's not exactly a new trend, but like there's a very strong focus on competences, like the last 15 years already, but that has been growing stronger. And now what we just said, action competence is now becoming more central. And it's not that knowledge is not important, certainly important, but it needs to be like applied knowledge in many cases. So competences is definitely one, and action competence as well.
What can I imagine by action competence?
Actually, part of action competence is what? Yeah, I mean that you learn to take action, and that you as well want to take action. It's not only learning to take action, but in the action you feel as well that you are able to, and it will lead to more action. I mean, it's not automatically, but in a way, it's important to focus on this action and not. Many years, people had thought that if we give them enough knowledge and if we give them the right values, they will take the right action. It doesn't happen. I mean, it doesn't. And as well, like these authentic sustainability challenges, and maybe one step further now, and that's quite new, I think. Like what leads to transformation of people, what kind of learning environment leads to transformation of people, that they are willing to take action. I mean, that they really want to contribute to a transition, this kind of transformative learning. That's something that still, I mean, in a UNESCO meeting, they really, everyone in the public asked, like, please do explain it further. So it's still that high level. And what I see as well is a confusion between green skills and the labor market and green competences. And even in the European Union, I see they use green skills and green competences, which is really confusing because competences include skills. So in a way, you still have this separation between economic and broader sustainability thinking, which is actually a pity because they should be reinforcing mutually. And as well, the whole institution approach. How do you shape transformative learning? That was one that I wrote down. And the importance of impact assessment. And that's really increasing. I mean, we really see that our sponsors are asking for it as well. So for me, it's a bit tricky. If it's just to justify or if it's linked to quality care, there's a difference. Because we don't, as you said, no, Miroslav, we don't have all the information yet to have a proper impact evaluation.
Would you add anything, Miroslav, about the new trends?
Yeah, definitely. You know, the most experts on education for sustainability and climate change education agree that climate change education should be action-oriented. Definitely, it should be competence-oriented. Maybe let me go back to climate change knowledge for a little while, because traditionally, most focus was put on systemic knowledge, how the the climatic system of the Earth works, you know, the greenhouse effect, things like that. But now there's a shift to action knowledge, which is about what to do, how to mitigate climate change, and effectiveness knowledge, which is about how various measures are effective. Is recycling more effective than avoiding flights? Because students and many adults don't know.
So what is more effective? Tell us.
Avoiding flights, definitely. Don't recycle, but don't fly. But recycling is fine, you know. I'm not putting recycling down. No, but speaking about the effect on mitigating climate change, you know, avoiding flights is way much more effective. And I would like to add one more thing to what Elke said. Whole school approach, definitely. Place-based education, which is taking, you know, the surroundings of the students into context. What is happening around them? A drought, floods, you know, how can we react to these hands-on problems? And also engaging all kinds of stakeholders. Not only the you know, classmates, schoolmates, the school management, but also local experts, you know, parents, the municipality, you know, actors like that, and to engage them together to work on a project that works, or you know, that proves to be the most effective.
Sounds effective for sure. Petra, you actually show everything to children in practice, in nature, and the actual environment. You already talked about it, but now, nowadays, the children are overwhelmed with smartphones and technology in general. So do you see this as a challenge? How do you tackle it? Or do you actually use it in your favor when you educate people in general?
What you can expect from the...
From you, definitely use it in favor.
Yes. Yes, of course. It's important. We don't want to be too slow. We want to show that technologies are around us and they can be very useful for protection of nature, and also they show us that something is changing around us. So that's why we use modern technologies in our programs.
Can you give us some examples?
Yes, I can actually show the
Perfect.
example.
We can use our technology.
Yes. So as you see, for summer camps, which are sometimes more about competencies or skills, we use modern tools like this tool, or we also look at for games which children can create by Canva, for example, and or they can use these engraving tools, pens actually, for graving. Here it's for putting some experience of the day. 3D printer.
What is this? This is actually from
It's
3D printer?
Yeah, it's an animal which is small like this. It's living in a soil, and it's very important for the environment of soil.
But this one is not real. This is actually
It's not real,
printed.
of course, but it's an example how we can use a 3D printer to look at, and maybe they play more with this animal. And of course, QR codes, which help children to explore nature and to know more about some animals or plants and other things. And of course, as I said, and with climate change connection, we use, for example, the thermal cameras, which show us that, for example, if we measure the tree and the asphalt, what can be more warm? You probably know, you guess, but children have no idea. So it's evidence, if they measure it by themselves, it's real and very deep evidence that it's like this. And that's why we need more trees in cities. We need more water in cities to make temperature lower. And I think these measurements are very important because it's experimental learning, and it's much more effective than just read about it. So I think the technologies are very important.
Do you agree with that, Elke? I saw you were shaking head.
Yeah, completely. But we do sometimes decide as well to just not use technologies. So I think you really need to see if it's distracting or not. But in a way, one of the things that we didn't mention, and that I think that combines some of your of the topics mentioned, is citizen science. We do include schools as well in citizen science projects that we sometimes subsidize, and it's really nice because they can contribute to like even bigger challenges than only local challenges, and it does have a big effect as well, and it links to the teachers and the schools and the students with as well the parents, because for instance there was one on the quality of air, and there was really a lot of ado about it afterwards, because the quality of air around schools seemed to be quite bad.
So how did it work in practice? They were measuring the quality of the air, or what was the program?
It was called, I don't know, Curious Noses, the campaign, and there's a selection in the Hall of Flanders. It's universities who are leading this, and actually they got these tools as well, these instruments to measure, and they could see as well online the results, and there was a huge media coverage afterwards as well, because it's quite relevant. What is the quality of the air, and as well what some schools did take measures afterwards as well, and of course the parents were involved because they bring the children to school in a car.
What kind of measures?
What kind of measures? Like, do you need cars passing school at the start of the school day, for instance? And there were discussions with parents as well, like, do we really need to bring all these students to school by car? So it did, and as well, I mean, they went as well to local governments to demand for some measures as well, if it was not the traffic of the school itself and the parents. So it did have a huge coverage, and actually it was a cooperation as well with media. So in a way it was covered already from the beginning. So citizen science and involving schools is as well a very important tool, and I think something that has grown stronger lately, no?
Yeah, Miroslav, you can also you can say more about your experience about this topic, but I will also ask you about more the future kind of environmental education, and also like how do you keep pace with the challenges of climate change, because we know
How
it's
do I keep
developing,
pace?
or the research you do.
I don't. If you allow me to dream a little, you know,
Please.
because some authors say that the present ecological crisis is not only about technology, it's not only about politics, it's not only about science, but it's also, the roots are much deeper. They say the problem is our fundamental relationship, our connection to the natural environment. So, you know, if I'm allowed to dream, environmental education should actually be targeted at not only, you know, climate change mitigation. It should be targeted at restoring very deep, you know, connection of us to the natural environment, because some authors say this is actually at the root of our you know, ecological crisis. We don't feel connected to the natural environment around us, and that's why we are destroying it. So I agree with these authors, you know, and I believe, actually there is one author, David Orr, and he says, all education is environmental education, you know. All school education should be directed at restoring this deep connection with nature. In, you know, teaching languages, in teaching art, in teaching science, all these areas should be targeted at, you know, environmental education. So that's my dream.
Thank you. One last question before we go to your questions. Audience is for Petra, because you also work with Erasmus Plus international teachers, training courses from all around the EU. So can you maybe tell us from your experience the comparison from different countries, what works the best, and also where is the highest level of this kind of sustainability education and why?
I don't want to mention any country. Sorry.
You don't want them to get angry.
But what I can say that, in my opinion, the level of sustainable education is related also how society perceives the importance of education for future and how politics support it. Yes. And the second aspect is the personality of the teacher. So if who is convinced and teaches about values and the relationship of man in nature. In Erasmus course, we work with a second aspect, and so the personal, the teacher as a person who can spread out ideas and take it with the love in the heart. So be authentic in his or her teaching to show that it's important for him or her, and spread out this love, this trust, that we are able to change something to the others, to students. Because if there is nothing inside, you cannot spread out anything. So we believe that we try to put energy in teachers that they are able to do it. They have a very important work. They are not payment enough for teachers because they actually show and prepare our future, teaching students. And it's very important work, and it's not paid enough, but still we have to do it. And we try to show teachers that they need a red carpet for walk on, yes. And believe that their work is very important, and be able to spread out this energy to their students.
Yes, those are nice, warm words for the end of the discussion. Thank you for them. I think we can all relate to it. And now we give floor to you, our audience. Please feel free to join us with your questions. It will be nice if you just shortly introduce yourself, who you are, and I am the question and one of the speakers, and I will give you my microphone. So whoever has a question, now it's your time. Okay.
I would like to ask you, it was very nice to listen to your discussion. I'm also the teacher, and I would like to ask you, how is the reaction of the parents? Because you were speaking absolutely right about the teachers, how important the role of them is. And it's true, because the students and the children are with us about 8 hours per day, but then the rest, they are with the parents and friends. How was the reaction of the parents when you tried to push them or to touch them by this politics, by these issues? Because the parents are most important in this
I will just say one thing. That's one of the reasons why teachers are actually, very uncomfortable with teaching about climate change, because it can still be, at least in the Czech Republic, it can still be a very controversial topic, a very polarizing topic, and they don't want to be involved in that. So they actually avoid teaching about climate change because they don't want to have discussions with parents. They don't want to have discussions with the school management or with some officials,
And for the parents, the reaction of the parents when you are speaking and talking with the parents. How is your experience about it? That's
mixed. Mixed.
So can you give us maybe more detailed experience about that with the parents? When you speak about with the parents, what is their reaction?
Because I'm sorry, they bring their children by car every day to the school. I see it also in our European school, that every day is 100 cars coming to our school with their children. I understand that they are worried about the children, of course, that I can understand. Many coming by bicycle, it's nice. But what about the parents who are coming every day by car and they can change it, for example?
Yeah, but I think we are forgetting one important actor here, and I think that's the school leader.
I really do think that the vision of a school should be strong on this topic for the teachers to have the space to work on this. Because if you're a teacher and you're the only one, you're like that green guy or something, and that's the way other teachers talk about you, and you don't have this backup. I mean, it's not nice to be that teacher because you do it out of passion, and actually it's your passion that's being undermined. So it's really difficult. So I think that you should have a strong school vision on this, and you should be backed up by a school leader. So I think working with school leaders on whole institution approach is crucial to give these teachers their space. And in a way, parents send their children to a school, and I think they shouldn't mingle too much with the curriculum. I know this is maybe, I'm a parent as well, but in a way I really try to avoid to say my children should learn this, because this is one that's defined by the Ministry of Education, and two, these are professionals. Teachers are professionals. I mean, I don't want anyone who's not a professional in my matter to tell me I am doing everything wrong. So in a way, I think as a parent, and that's as well the role of the school leader in a way, and maybe as well of society, and that's what Petra was saying, I think we really should estimate the professional capacities of our teachers. And so I really think crucial there is, like, I think the school leader, I mean, that school leader should choose for a sustainable school. And I know that's not always the case, but I noticed as well in research that I was doing on nature education and secondary education. And actually I had teachers who were so motivated that they worked like 80%, and in that 20% they were working on nature education with their students because they didn't get the space. So, I mean, it shouldn't happen like that. It should be at the core. I think sustainability, if we don't prepare our children for one of the biggest challenges, and sustainability is more than ecological sustainability, I mean, SDGs, no? I mean, these are really the core challenges. If we don't prepare our children in our educational system for the core challenges we are facing, what are we doing? I mean, you just tell them, yeah, I mean, yeah, this is a small problem, you know, climate change, but we don't teach you about it. I mean, that would be bad education.
Teacher. I'm a physics and math teacher, so in my subject I'm very often speaking about the climate changes, about the nature, about the planet, and what I see that the children, they have very small knowledges about the base of the planet, of the nature, and they are many times surprised when I am talking about my, for example, childhood in a village in the Czech Republic, what we were all the day, somewhere in the green, in a wood and so on, and how it works. And sometimes I'm sad for them because they want really to support our nature, to be nice, and they don't want the brands. So, for example, sometimes the parents are buying for them the amazing clothes and shoes and everything, but when I'm talking then with my student, they say, but we don't need it. Yeah, and that is also how we can speak also with the adults, maybe. Yeah, and maybe now it's idea that we can change the mind of the adults through our students, through our children, because many times they are more skilled than their parents, than the adults. Yeah, you are right. Yeah, thank you.
Can I use one example?
Yes.
It's yeah. Do we have time? Okay. It's actually many years ago already, but it was our government wanted, or our employment. While I work for environmental center, who was founded about the city department, and then they wanted to teach students how to recycle garbage. So we did it. We made quite a nice project. Went to all schools in the city and did many things how to recycle garbage. And finally, students, children, and it was like I speaking about maybe hundreds students from different schools. They started to do it, but after a while, it was like a month after we started, department had a call from many parents who were very angry because they said, we are taught by our children how to recycle. We spend so much time by recycling all garbage at home. After we carry all garbage outside to cans, but there are no cans for recycling. So where they are, or if they are there, they are full. So how the system works? So children are really big power to teach parents. Of course, and I think also about the climate change. If they understand why, they easily can show that it makes sense, and they can actually help us, the policy and other administration, to understand what's going on and what to do.
Yeah, thank you very much for the questions and also for the answers. Do you have anyone else? I see already a hand up.
Thank you very much. Adrienne Jacek from the European Commission. I would like to thank you first for this very interesting and insightful discussion. I learned a lot, and I would have a question about if you could elaborate a bit more on initial teacher education and preparing teacher graduates for teaching sustainability, given also the fact that in many countries sustainability is a transversal or horizontal competence. And if you could tell us a bit about your experience of working with potentially with teacher education faculties or universities in this regard. Thank you.
Well, to give you the perspective from the Czech Republic, this is a very important point, teacher education, that's crucial. But the situation in the Czech Republic is even worse than the United Nations analysis, There is none, actually. There is no climate change education or sustainability education included in teacher education now, for the time being. But fortunately, there are some initiatives from the Ministry of Environment, from the Ministry of Education to change this, and there are already some grant proposals, for including climate change education, sustainability education in the teacher education. So we realize this is a very serious problem. Our teachers are not educated to teach about climate change, so they will not do it. So this must be changed, definitely, but in the Czech Republic we are at the very beginning, unfortunately. I don't know what's the situation in Belgium.
Freedom of education. I mean, it's the same as for the other levels, but we do have a group of colleagues as well working on sustainable higher education, and so we are working. We've got a commission on sustainable higher education, and working with them on what does, for instance, the framework of Green Comp means for higher education, how you translate it, or what does whole institution approach mean for, and of course, teacher trainings are included, but we don't have any like official levers apart from the like the learning goals for secondary and primary education. So they need to be able to teach about what's in those learning goals, which is actually not such a strong lever. But we do see that there's a big difference as well between different teacher training institutions. Some of them are doing some great work. In other teacher training institutions is like 2 hours in the first year. I mean, there's a big difference, but we are working on it from the perspective of Sustainability Education Hub. What I must say is as well, maybe something that maybe weakened our topic are like the results of the PISA surveys. We noticed that there's a renewed focus on science, on mathematics, and on language. And even some politicians say, yeah, we should just skip topics like climate education. I mean, that's not important. The basis is. So I don't say that I mean, there's a freedom of education, so that's now handy to bring in, I think. So they just can do this if they want to, but not every institution is doing it the same way or embedding it in the same
Yeah.
Is there something that can be done from the European level, from the European Commission, that would improve the situation?
I think what does work is bringing people together. I really do believe in that, inspiring, and people who are like, for instance, what you say, there's a teacher in a school who's really enthusiastic but is alone. I mean, if you do link them with other teachers and they can exchange on the challenges they face, I think that always works. And of course, Erasmus projects like the budget on Erasmus for teacher training exchange on this specific topic, like linking budget to this topic always works. So yeah.
So those are some ideas for you.
Can I
Petra,
add
please.
something? I also from the Czech Republic, and I see maybe one way, which is already we are with my organization walk on. Lipka is from Brno, which is quite a big city, and there is Masaryk University, and we try to cooperate. So I think that's the way, maybe communicate with the other organizations who are really focused to climate change education, and try to cooperate between them, universities and these organizations. That's what we do actually. So we teach we are active in 2 universities and teach maybe 15 lessons, and we try to involve students in climate education and use them as teachers for children, so they have to learn something and teach that to spread out. So, and it works actually. They are active, and we see results that it's possible.
Miloslav, would you like to add anything?
Yes, I just wanted to say that pedagogical faculties, you know, there is no climate change education, no sustainability education. But on the other hand, we have many educational centers like Lepka who provide, luckily, you know, professional development for teachers, and they actually balance this, you know, disproportion, fortunately. But as I said before, let's hope the situation at pedagogical faculties will improve, and they will include sustainability education or climate change education in their, you know, in their study programs.
Thank you, Elke.
And I think bring out the good examples. I really do think that works, inspiring. So if in Europe you've got these great examples in other countries, it would be really nice to know, like, if we've got good examples, that we can just as well bring them in and they can connect. I do think they can learn from each other, and I noticed that in higher education institutions they're even more keen to have this kind of international exchanges. So for us sometimes it's difficult to find good practices in the European context, because as a governmental organization we can easily bring them in and have a kind of conversation or organize a discussion or a dialogue in between different good practices. But it's not so easy always to find them. But we are as well part of the Copernicus Alliance, so in that way we do have our connections.
Mm-hmm. And this is also why we have you here to share your experience also with the European bubble. So I will give you more floor. We still have some time for more questions, so whoever has it, please raise your hand. Don't be shy, or I will pick someone.
Climate change education is about action competence. So this is the time to be active. Now it's the time.
I think they're just thirsty because we have wine here and more food. Okay, please. You saved us. Thank you.
Hello, I'm from the Vysočina region, so also Czech Republic. I just want to ask, there was one wording that really stuck out to me, and that was that we need to connect back to nature. I feel like I'm connected to nature because I'm from a village, you know, so this was really striking. But when do you think this happened, that people suddenly started not to connect to nature as much? Do you think it's maybe because people are trying to live in bigger cities, you know, or is it maybe because of how, you know, parents try to bring up their kids? Where do you think maybe the problem started with this?
Yeah, I don't know the exact data, but I once saw a research, that was a British research, maybe you know it, Miloslav, and it was like how far children of a certain age were allowed to roam. And it was really impressive between the grandfather, the grandparents, and the parents, and then the next generation, and then the children from now. It was really like children were not allowed to almost leave anymore. I was really like very surprised, but I do admit that what I did as a child, I didn't allow my own children to do. So maybe I'm as well partly a generation that didn't do very well on this topic, although we did a lot of walks in nature and things like that. We do have a garden, but yeah, I'm not the best example. I realized when I was reading this study, but I do relate to that. I could just go. I mean, my parents were just happy when I just came back for the dinner or something. So I think that's a big difference. I think the safety issue is a difference, and I think as well the way people live. I do think there's less nature. I mean, as well in the place I lived, many of the places where we found nature, there are houses now. So in that way, and I think as well, like my parents, they come from farming families. I think that they did have more connections well to nature than we had. So I do think there's less, not only connection, but as well contact with nature, and that's already proven. So in a way, the basis is not there, the contact.
That's why programs like Petra was describing are important. Which actually enable kids to really touch, see, smell, because they don't have many opportunities to do that in their own life. Unfortunately, this is true. All the things you mentioned are actually important aspects. There is no simple answer why nature connectedness is decreasing. There are many, many aspects influencing this, but the sad truth is, it's happening.
And how do we connect with nature back?
Well, through programs, through well-prepared programs, and through changing the mindset of education. Because, for example, in the Czech Republic, one of the strong movements is outdoor learning. All public schools should include outdoor learning, because most of the time kids sit in classrooms. So we have to change the mindset. And let children actually experience nature. That's what we did when we were young, as Elke was describing. But children of today, they don't have the opportunity to do that.
Do you have summer camps for adults? Can I register?
Maybe we can start, and and I see here a lot of young people, and you are going to be parents sometimes, and connect to what I listen here. Can you say how much time you have spent outdoors in your childhood? Can you say, like, was it 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours?
Per day or?
Per day.
Per week?
Per day. Per day, let's say per day.
Whenever I didn't need to study, I was outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and do you know how much time children spend outdoors today? We have research, and the research says that it's less than 1 hour. Some children, no time outside. So how they can see these changes if they are not in? So that's the answer. Let children go outdoors, feel, smell, have a motivation to be there, and after they are able to see these differences between what was 1 year, 2 years before and now, and they can see the climate change, and they are say, oh, okay, I have to do something, it's changing.
Do you have any more tips, Elke?
That I didn't implement. No. The thing is, what I think as well is to bring nature to children, and that's one of the things that in many schools is happening with the greening of the schoolyards. And actually, that's as well. If you're talking about parents, I mean, I was in the parent committee greening the schoolyard of the school of my children, and I thought, yeah, nobody can be against it. So we did a kind of survey with the parents, and they said, yeah, I'm glad you asked. I don't want them to play hide and seek critique anymore, because then we can't see, the teacher can't see my children. I really don't want them to have holes in their trousers. And I was like, oh, no. Now I give actually a lot of ammunition to the director to not do what we were planning to do. And so we really needed to start with the parents there, because if you have a green schoolyard, you cannot expect your child with white clothes to return with white clothes. I mean, voila. And I really do think that if you give them the chance to discover things, you really need to think about as well about risk taking, allowing as well to have a bump from time to time. So things like that, parents are not used to that anymore. They want clean children. They without any holes in their trousers and things like that. And I do things there. Again, the school leader is crucial, because in the next school of my children, the first thing that the director told me was, never come to me with complaints about clothes, because that they will be dirty. So I was happy. So bring nature to school.
Yes. That sounds good. Do you have any more questions from the audience? Misha.
Just a quick question. Hello, everyone. My name is Michaela, and I work for the Chill Office, one of the organizers. I have a question for Elke, because we got super nice presentation from the Flemish perspective, but I was wondering how it works in Wallonie. Do they have any activities similar to yours? And if yes, do you work together, or it's more separated? Because I would assume that this topic will be dealt on the national level. So I was just wondering whether there is anything. Thank you.
Belgium is a complicated country. We've got the communities are responsible for education, and the regions are responsible for environment. So that's already a challenge for Brussels, because the Flemish community is responsible for Flemish education, but when we are greening schoolyards, it's the Brussels region that's responsible. So already that's complex. But I must say that we were meeting each other in the Benelux context, and I asked people from Brussels and from the Walloon region, can you come 15 minutes earlier? And they came 15 minutes earlier, and I told them, look, this is a bit weird. We just know more about the Dutch people than we do about you. And so we just started to have we've got it now more than 1 year. We've got a platform with Federal and Walloon and French-speaking and the Ministry of Environment and Education, and as well the German-speaking. So we do connect now, and the situation in the Walloon region is, or more the French-speaking, they've got a cooperation agreement. It's even more complex. Cooperation agreement between Brussels, between the Walloon region, and between the French-speaking community on environmental education and sustainability education. And you've got two ministries responsible for, or two divisions for sustainability education and nature education. So that's divided as well. But they've got a different system. It's like Réseau ID, which is an organization that gets funding to be a coordinating organization for the whole sector of different organizations working on that, and they work more with subsidies. It's more like in the Czech Republic, more similar. We've got a big, a large amount of people working within the ministry in Sustainability Education Hub. They give subsidies to Réseau ID to do kind of the same thing. But we do work together, and they've got interesting programs, and we have had exchange on impact evaluation on sustainable higher education, but that's, let's say, 1 year and some months. Yeah, but we are progressing on this. But for UNEC, UNESCO, EU, we do work per community, per region. Yeah.
Thank you. Very complex. Okay, I saw one question from you.
I wanted only to say that here was a question about the Czech Republic, about to bring into the school nature. And I know that the Czech radio has an amazing broadcasting Meteor, and that it's a name of the nature 1 hour taking broadcasting about physics, chemistry, nature, biology, and animals, and about everything. So there are 10 minutes, for example, some information about also sustainability of nature and others. So I take it into my lessons of physics, for example, and I know that my students are very interesting, but what makes me again sad that they don't know about it and their parents as well. So that is, for example, amazing broadcasting in the Czech Republic when you can touch amazing information about the nature, how to touch that.
That's a good tip. Thank you. I didn't know about the program as well, you know.
Me neither. Let's find out. Okay, so if we have no more questions, I would like to thank you very much for joining us. Please, big claps, for Petra Kopová. Miloslav Kolenatý. And Elke van Vildemirs. And of course, big thanks and big applause to you, our audience, because you were great. You joined us for the discussion, and that was also amazing. Before we also give you our wine, please, I would like to give floor to director of the Czech Center in Brussels, Kristina Halonová, for a few remarks.
Thank you, Tomáš. Thank you to all the partners who organized this event. Thank you all the amazing speakers, Tomáš, for a great moderating work, and to all of you for participating tonight. Us in the Czech Center Brussels, our mission is to always spot a talent or a skill or some expertise and bring it to the international environment and help to promote it and to also exchange good practice. I see there might be a couple of teachers here with us tonight, and I very much believe that all of you, and the teachers mainly, are interested in outdoor education. What I want to say is that I have good news for you. This might be just the beginning for us, because we spotted very nice, very big expertise in Lipka and their partner organization Outdoor, of which we have a representative, Mr. Dušan Bartuněk, tonight. And I'm saying it might be just the beginning because we wish to continue promoting this exchange of good practice between Czechia and Belgium, and we continue tomorrow with a first of I hope a series maybe in the future of workshops between Lipka Outdoor and the cluster of Flemish-speaking schools here in Brussels. So we very much hope for good outcomes of that, and that will be something we might share with you later on. And last, before I pass the word to my colleague Vendula, I just want to say that we also thank to that this event could happen in the context of the Researchers' Night of 2024. And yeah, thank you very much for being here. And I pass the word to Vendula Nováčková, the manager of the representation of the South Moravian region to the EU. Thank you and have a nice evening.
So that's it. Thank you very much. I would like to end the official part of this event. If you enjoyed it, please follow our social networks of the representation of Cello and of Czech Center of Brussels to follow other events and other information what we are planning to do. I would like to thanks very much to all the organizers. I would like to also thanks KULT XL, where we are right now. And thank you very much all our interns who help today with all this event. And now I would like to invite you for the glass of the South Moravian wine. Enjoy.